Pregnancy is usually a wonderful event for a couple to experience, allowing them to bring a life into the world and start or enlarge a family. However, many women suffer from postpartum issues after their pregnancy that can lead to deep-rooted psychological issues. Tragically, postpartum depression is often disregarded and ignored, leading to the worst for some women, including suicide or filicide. This would unfortunately be the case for Andrea Yates, who ignored an untreated mental illness and would eventually claim the lives of her 5 children. Andrea Yates was born in Texas to Karen Kohler and Andrew Emmett Kennedy. She was the youngest of 5 children and showed signs of mental illness from a young age. During her teenage years, she suffered from bulimia nervosa as well as depression and reportedly even confessed to a friend at the time that she'd experienced some suicidal thoughts. Despite what she was struggling with, Andrea was extremely successful, serving as an officer in the Nation Honor Society, captain of her high school swim team, and graduating from Milby High as class valedictorian in 1982. After her graduation, she went on to complete 2-year pre-nursing at the University of Houston before graduating from the University of Texas Health Science Center in Houston. While working as a registered nurse at the University of Texas MD Anderson Cancer Center, she met Russell Yates, also known as Rusty, an engineer who also lived in her apartment complex. Their relationship progressed incredibly quickly, and the two soon moved in together before getting married on April 17, 1993. Not wasting any time in getting their family started, the couple bought a large 4-bedroom home in preparation for having as many babies as nature allowed, and by February 26, 1994, they had their first child, a boy named Noah. After meeting Andrea, Rusty attended Auburn University, and while there discovered the teachings of a non-denominational Christian preacher by the name of Michael Warnecki. Michael taught outdated and controversial beliefs such as subservient wives and a fire and brimstone outlook on God and the afterlife. Rusty quickly fell in line with Michael's teaching and introduced them to Andrea when they met, who appeared to accept them and take them to heart. Soon after the birth of their first son, Andrea abandoned her career as a nurse to become a full-time mom to Noah, and soon after John, their second son. By 1997, the couple welcomed a 3rd child into their rapidly growing family by way of their new son, Paul. Rusty accepted a job down in Florida, decently far from their large California home, and the family downsized to a trailer before eventually moving back to Texas and transitioning into a mobile home that had no hope of being big enough for 2 grown adults and 3 young boys. 2 years later, in 1999, Andrea gave birth to Luke, the couple's 4th son, and her mental health began to take a steep decline. June 16, 1999, just 3 months after Luke's birth, Rusty found his wife shaking profusely and chewing on her fingers. The very next day, Andrea attempted to commit suicide by overdosing on pills. However, she was discovered and rushed to the hospital, where they were able to save her. Following this incident, Andrea was prescribed antidepressants. However, almost immediately following her release from the hospital, she was readmitted after holding a knife up to her throat and begging her husband to let her die. During this stay in the hospital, her medicine was upped from antidepressants to a cocktail of different pills, including a medicine called Haldol, which was an antipsychotic. Seeing the stress his wife was under, Rusty decided to move the family from a mobile home into a slightly larger house. And between this and her medicine, it seemed like Andrea was actually showing signs of improvement. Unfortunately, in July of the same year, Andrea had another nervous breakdown that resulted in 2 suicide attempts and 2 internments at a psychiatric facility over the course of the summer, where she was officially diagnosed with postpartum psychosis. Postpartum psychosis is a depressive disorder in which, following pregnancy, a woman will experience severe manic symptoms, including but not limited to delusions, hallucinations, depressions, catatonia, and even self-mutilation. Andrea attended therapy and hospitalization following her diagnosis, and it was here that Andrea revealed she felt as though she had given up her identity by becoming a stay-at-home mother, and that Rusty's beliefs and expectations of both of her and her children were suffocating her. She stated that these expectations made her feel as though she had to raise her children to be perfect by being the perfect mother. However, she didn't think she could ever achieve that. Andrea eventually stopped all medical treatment, including therapy, and disregarded other medical advice, such as the couple being advised to avoid having any more children to avoid worsening her psychosis. Wasting no time, on November 30th, 2000, the couple welcomed their 5th child, a daughter named Mary, into the world. For a few more months following Mary's birth, everything was looking up, and it seemed as though Andrea's troubled history might be behind her. This didn't last long, however, as eventually Andrea's father fell very ill and passed away on March 12, 2001. Andrea's mental health spiraled, and she stopped taking her medication, obsessively read the Bible, expressed paranoid thoughts, self-harmed, and eventually stopped eating or nursing her newborn. 1 month passed, and nothing had improved, with Andrea now completely refusing any food or liquids, pulling out chunks of her hair, and seemingly hallucinating. However, she insisted that she wasn't experiencing psychosis, and that, above all, she would never harm her children. She was rehospitalized and placed under the care of Dr. Mohammed Saeed, who diagnosed her with postpartum depression, and she was given another concoction of pills to try and balance out her mental state before being released back to her home. Unlike previous periods of release from the hospital, Andrea experienced no improvement, and if anything, got increasingly worse. The paranoia continued with a vengeance, this time with Andrea being paranoid that she was going to hurt her children in some way. This stressed her out to the point of entering a catatonic state. On May 3, 2001, during this catatonic state, Andrea drew a bath in the middle of the day and would later confess to the cops that she had planned on drowning her children that day, but was able to stop herself. This random bath was brought up during a scheduled doctor visit not long after, and believing that this was actually another suicide attempt, Andrea was rehospitalized for about a week before being released due to insurance issues. Following this release, both Rusty and Andrea told Dr. Saeed during routine checkups that her mental state was improving, which led him to reduce and eventually completely stop her Haldol prescription. During June of 2001, Andrea experienced intense delusions and hallucinations, which included Satan appearing in her home and severe feelings of being a horrible mother. Her paranoia once again reared its ugly head, this time coming back with a vengeance, as Andrea soon began to believe that the Child Protection Agency and one of her former psychiatrists had placed cameras in her home in order to spy on her. While friends and family could see that she was suffering, nobody knew the extent of Andrea's delusions and hallucinations, and nobody had any idea of the horror she was slowly becoming capable of. With Andrea being unable to take care of herself, let alone 5 young children, Dr. Saeed had advised Rusty to not leave Andrea alone, especially not with the children. Rusty not only ignored this advice, but actually aimed to make his wife more independent than she currently was, and went about this by leaving her alone for increasingly larger periods of time. On June 20th, 2001, Rusty left for work, leaving Andrea alone with the kids for an hour until his mother could arrive at the house. Within that hour, Andrea drew a bath and drowned John, Paul, and Luke, laying each of them down in her bed after they died. She then drowned her youngest, Mary, and left her floating in the tub while she called in Noah, who would have been 7 at the time. Noah saw Mary and asked his mother what was wrong with his sister. Despite his young age, Noah could sense something was wrong and tried to run, but was tragically captured by his delusional mother and drowned as well. Andrea then called 911 and asked for a police officer to come to her house, but she refused to say why she needed an officer, eventually stating that she was ill and needed help. She then called Rusty at work and told him he needed to come home right away. When the police arrived, they were horrified to discover John, Paul, and Luke on the bed, with Mary in John's arms, all dead, and with a sheet pulled over them. In the bathroom, they discovered Noah's body still floating in the bathtub. Andrea was immediately arrested and confessed to the murders of her 5 children without hesitation, stating that she was a terrible mother incapable of raising children who would be accepted into heaven, so to save their souls, she had to kill them. While Andrea did express a level of remorse for the death of her children, she never expressed any regret and genuinely believed in her wild delusions wholeheartedly. Andrea was held in isolation leading up to her trial and went through thorough observation. During this time, professionals noted that her obvious psychosis, such as her delusions and hallucinations, were showing improvement as they administered Haldol to her. During her trial, the defense pled not guilty by reason of insanity. However, this did not work. On March 20th, 2002, Andrea was found guilty on all counts and sentenced to life in prison. This verdict would eventually be overturned, however, as on January 6, 2005, the Texas Court of Appeals reversed the conviction when it was revealed psychiatrist and witness for the prosecution, Dr. Park Dietz, had falsified his testimony. During his time on the stand, Dr. Dietz had alleged that Andrea couldn't be insane, as she had been inspired to commit this crime from an episode of Law & Order, where a mother drowns her children and is acquitted of the crime by virtue of insanity. After the trial and conviction, and previous writer for the show brought it to the attention of the courts that no such episode existed, and since the jury might have been influenced by Dr. Dietz's testimony, the entire trial had to be redone. After the second trial, Andrea was found not guilty by reason of insanity, and in 2007, she was moved from prison to the Kerrville State Hospital, which was a low-security mental institution. This is where she currently resides, and most likely will for the rest of her life. Rusty, on the other hand, divorced Andrea and remarried another woman soon after, having a son with her before getting handed divorce papers in 2015. Rusty has since stated that he supports Andrea and has forgiven her for her crimes against their children, truly believing it was the product of a poorly handled mental illness, though he refuses to take any responsibility for being part of the reason it was poorly handled. Let us know your thoughts about the case down in the comment section below, and let us know about any other cases you would like us to cover. If you enjoyed this video, then consider hitting the thumbs up button, subscribing to the channel, and turning on notifications so you never miss when we post another video, and we'll see you in the next one.